Hi, good evening, Rakesh. Hello, good evening, Rakesh. I think there's a bit of an echo. 1 second. Hi, Rakesh. How are you? Good evening.
Yeah, I'm good, Don.
Great to see you after a long time. Yeah, we have our MBA students here, and we have participants connected with us through YouTube and Google Meet.
Okay.
So, with your permission, shall I start the session?
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you clearly, loud and clear.
Good. Let me know when you want to start.
Perfect, great. So let me just start it off. A warm welcome to all the audience members from throughout the world. Our international e-conference started this morning, Rakesh, from 9:30 to 10:30, and we had Dr. P.L. Dharma, the Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University. Just a second. Okay. We had the Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Dr. P.L. Dharma, sir, who inaugurated the program. and we had Mr. Mayur Shetty, the CEO of Black Frog Technology, Manipal, who was a guest of honor, and we had alumnus guest Mr. Manjunath, Professor Manjunath Kamath, who was the alumnus guest. And then we had series of research paper presentation. And the first technical session, we had Mr. Sandeep Nashikar from Australia. He's the founder and CEO of Civizo Software. I think the invitation you would have already got, right? So I will not invest too much of time talking on it. And now we have you, our esteemed technical expert, Mr. Rakesh Nambiar, Director of Business Technology, Alcon Company, Switzerland. And you will be talking on the topic implementing AI in mid-sized organization and insider's view, because you deal with artificial intelligence and all kind of technology. So before we start it off, I would love to give the audience a briefing as to who Mr. Rakesh Nambiar is. So audience, he's an innovative cross-functional leader of large, complex and global integrated teams. Hands-on IS/IT leader with successes in delivering complex programs with a focus on cost reduction, optimization, and deriving value for the business. Deep experience strategizing and driving cutting edge technology and architecture solutions. Recruiting and developing high performing multi location teams, internal and external. Detailed financial management, including cost reductions through shared services, nearshoring, and offshoring. Change management across organization levels, including external business partners. Fluent in English with knowledge of French and six other Asian languages. So before Alcon, Sir also worked as an IT head in international growth and export markets with Fribourg, Canton of Fribourg, Switzerland. He was also the cluster IT head, and he also worked in numerous roles in Nestle also. So Sir is also an SAP expert, and he has handled teams across Nestle also. So, with this brief introduction, I, on behalf of SDM MBA Mangalore and the organizing committee members of International E-Conference on the theme Innovation and Disruption, we warmly welcome you, sir. So, sir, the session is over to you. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you, sir.
Good. Thank you so much for that, Don. I think, I mean, there was a lot of nice things said about me, but probably I guess probably the most important part was left out, which I'm going to say, and that is that I am a Mangalorean, right? So I've done a lot of my most of my schooling, my primary, my PU, and my graduation and post graduation in and around that region. So I've studied in Milagres, I've studied in St. Aloysius, and I did a lot of my education in Manipal. So I'm very much from around all of you all, and the SDM group of institutions has been, a big player in my educational ecosystem back in the 90s and 80s when, I was lucky enough to still be studying at that point of time. So I'm really humbled to be invited to speak over here. So thank you for the opportunity. And I hope I can do the topic a little bit of justice. Right. So I'm just going to try and share my screen now. Let me know if that works.
Yes, I'll let you know as soon as the screen is presented. Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Perfect. You can go ahead.
All right. So you should be able to see an initial slide, right? Implementing AI in mid-sized companies, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let me start, right? So I mean, at the very start, I just want to. I was listening to Don introduce me as a technical expert, and I was immediately thinking that that it's been a few years, or maybe at least close to a decade, that I really would consider myself a technical expert. I'm more into general IT management these days, and that's exactly why I've put in the word insider's view over here. And this is not an insider's view from the perspective of working at an OpenAI or a Google Bard or a Microsoft Copilot, right? I'm not with any of those companies that I can give you an insider's view of what's the latest and greatest or the next best step that those products are going to offer. This is more from the perspective of, as it says here, I'm a director of IT in a mid-sized company in the medtech space, right? And like most other companies, we've been wondering and scratching our heads over the last few years of how do we get onto the AI bandwagon? How, where, when, with what? And the following set of slides are more, my perception, my views, my experience over the last 2 years that, have shaped my thoughts in terms of what could and would be the best way for a company to jump onto the AI bandwagon, especially a mid-sized company. So it's from that perspective that, I would like to share a few slides and a few ideas, if you wish, in terms of how it could be done, right? So without further ado, let's start. And I want to get a few disclaimers out of the way, to so to speak. So first things first, as I've already said, all the thoughts and opinions here are expressed are completely my own. I'm not speaking on behalf of my employer, nor am I speaking on behalf of any vendor or any other company, nor am I being remunerated for any of the ideas or thoughts that I'm going to be talking about. Secondly, as I also said, right, this group of slides or these thoughts are more a culmination of all of my thoughts from the last 2 or 3 years of trying to implement AI at my organization. So there isn't one source of information that I would be referring to in this deck. It's a bunch of different sources from personal experiences, from various consulting firms that have visited us over the years and given us various ideas and thoughts, from various publications, from various online material that I've obviously been reading and keeping myself up to speed with. So I don't intend to plagiarize, nor do I intend to cause any harm by not specifically calling out any content or any speaker, any sources. All right. And last but not the least, as I said a little bit earlier, I'm not an expert, right? So please don't blindly go and implement what I'm suggesting. So please do consult an expert before if you do decide to take up anything that I'm speaking about in the next few slides. All right, good. So with that out of the way, right, let's jump into the topic directly. So I was when I was trying to gather my thoughts of how do I start off, talking about this topic, because there's a lot of thoughts, there's a lot of ideas. It's been many years, since I've been talking about this, thinking about this, working with my teams and colleagues and partners to implement it. And I came across this image, which I thought was really apt in terms of explaining where my thoughts lie today, right? So, I mean, what would you think when you look at this slide or look at this image? Any thoughts from anyone in the call? What are your first perceptions?
So students are telling that when humans meet the technology, there is some spark which is created. So that was a couple of answers. Any other answers, students or participants? A human hand is different and artificial hand looks different. What else? Anything else? Good answers these are. Yes, first, please. Rakesh, did you hear that?
Yeah. No, I couldn't hear it.
Participants online also. There is Jyoti Kulkarni who's telling that the connection of AI and humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the participants, some of them have joined through Google Meet also. So you can also please express your answers there.
But I think it's fine. I think you captured. You've captured.
They just had nice ID here. That's why.
Yes. So you're absolutely right. Right. There is the spark. There is the hand. And what also hit me when I looked at this image is is the delicacy between the two hands touching, right? It's a very subtle, delicate, tentative touch between the two hands, right? It's not, it's not one of those grabbing of hands. It's a very delicate, sensitive touch, which as both the hands are coming closer, there's this spark over there, right? And it's a bright spark. I look at this as a value-adding spark, right? And this sort of encompasses most of what you will hear in my slide today, in my slides today. It's that delicacy, it's the value generation, it's that tentativeness with which you need to approach this, because the whole interaction can be, hugely value generating, and as well it could be a destroyer of value as well, if not implemented properly, right? So just to summarize all of this, right, I've got three factors that have influenced my views, which I want to talk to about at very high level now, and then we can jump into the details a little bit later, right? So the first factor is, what I would call traditional versus generative AI. Now, I don't know, I haven't heard about this term or this differentiation used a lot out there in the industry, but it is something that, we've used in our, at least at work over the last few years, to try and differentiate what is traditional AI versus generative AI. And the reason why we need to differentiate it is because both come with a different set of parameters, or a different set of overheads in terms of implementation versus not, right? So, but before I actually try and explain what is traditional versus generative, I was trying to I was thinking, let's put a definition of what AI is to start off with, right? And I thought, okay, who best to give me a definition than ChatGPT itself, right? So I asked ChatGPT, what's your definition of AI? Right? And this is what it gave me, right? So what it said was, artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to mimic cognitive functions such as learning, problem solving, decision making, and perception. AI encompasses a wide range of techniques and technologies, including machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, robotics, and expert systems. The goal of AI is to create that systems that can autonomously perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, enabling them to analyze data, adapt to new situations, and solve complex problems without explicit programming instructions. So a very insightful response, right? And very quick response. But what stood out for me in this group of words over here is what I've highlighted in blue over here, right? So the first thing is that it's a simulation of human intelligence, right? It is not human intelligence, first and foremost. So it is trying to get to human intelligence, or as close as it can get to human intelligence. So it's a simulation, number one, right? And the next part in blue over here was how it attempts to do that, right? It attempts to analyze data, adapt to new situations, and solve complex problems without explicit programming instructions. And this was really important to me. The fact that it's trying to do all of this without explicit programming instructions, and that for me is critical. The critical difference between generative versus traditional. Traditional AI for me is more like is I would call automation or business tech automation. For me would be traditional AI. I know there's a session I think tomorrow where there's another resource speaker who would speak about automation. So I won't go into too much into depth over there, but um, automation for us has been a lot about explicitly programming a set of repeatable actions, right? Something which is repeatable, you can automate. It would be the program would basically keep doing that over and over and again with the same set of inputs. And if the inputs change, it may or may not be able to handle it, depending upon how you've programmed it, right? So that for me is a set of code which has been explicitly put in place to serve a pre-designed set of situations. And that's where generative AI is different. You can't explicitly program every single situation that generative AI would be exposed to, right? And that's how generative AI would be different, in the sense it creates brand new content depending upon the situation, depending upon the question asked, depending upon where and what it is exposed to. So that for me was very important to highlight, which is the first learning which we have or we should look at in a company is try and differentiate what is traditional AI versus generative AI, in the sense that try and differentiate what is, pure play automation versus pure play new content creation. Because the level of effort involved and the level of risk associated with each of these two types of AI is totally different. Traditional AI, you have a lot more control, a lot more control on what is the outcome, and a lot more control on the risk exposure as well. Whereas with generative AI, as you know, I think it was one of the Marvel movies in Spider-Man, right? That they said, with great power comes great responsibility. With generative AI, it's exactly that. You're creating, you could be creating or implementing a monster if you're not very careful on, how you implement it, or on what data it's trained, on what data it uses to, create content. So that's the first thing. I'll delve a little bit more into, the pitfalls, or let's say, ways to put in guardrails around generative AI. But that's the first step for me, which, really influenced my thoughts. Differentiating between traditional versus generative. Okay. Now, the second one is also very, 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 very interesting. So I've got a couple of GIFs over here, a couple of videos. I'd just like to get your opinion on what you see, or what do you get out of these two GIFs? Any thoughts? What's the first message, or the first thought that comes to you when you look at this?
Maybe one is the zoom in version up close, and other one is how it looks from far away. That is probably one answer I got. Any other answers? Okay. Yeah, please be clear. Be clear. Person's vision and view, correct? So we have one student telling, yeah, it's your vision and view. So one person is having up close, and the same person's view, someone else is seeing from somewhere else. And maybe the view from outside is more disruptive. The close up, it doesn't look so disruptive. Maybe that is one of the things.
All right.
Any other students? The participants can also drop in your answers on the chat box, please. And Rakesh, just for your information, I'm just sharing one info on the chat box. The next session is immediately after this, and the resource person, Mr. AVELO Roy, he'll be talking on business growth using tech automation, just for your information.
Correct. Right. Exactly. That's exactly what I was referring to. I knew there was another session. I wasn't sure when it was, but good. So it'll be a good, segue. All right. So guys, I mean, a lot of interesting responses, right? And again, I think I'm also conscious of time. I want to make sure the next speaker, I don't delay the person. Okay. So how much time do I have, Don, just to be sure I'm on time?
Right now, the time in Indian Standard Time is 7:22. We could stretch it till 7:45, and maybe some questions after that, if that is okay with you. Sorry, not 5:22. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. 5:22 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and we could stretch it to 5:45, maybe 5:50, and we could ask a couple of questions. I mean, students or participants could ask a couple of questions, if that is okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Another half an hour. That's fine. Okay, good. So let me jump directly into it. So thank you. A lot of good answers there, right? What I wanted to convey over here with this is, as you obviously can see, this is an avalanche, right? And you're right. It's a close-up view versus, whatever, a helicopter view. But there are two pieces of information here that I want to, highlight. One is it's an avalanche, life or death situation. You can either get through it, or you can, that's it. You won't get out of it. But in both cases, it looks like the person sort of has made it through, as in the person is still alive, and he or she is, not yet or has not been consumed by it. So let's assume it's a good story, it's a happy ending here, and this individual makes it through, right? And why I'm showing you this slide or these GIFs is that, recently I was talking to my account manager at Gartner, and we were talking about AI. And she used a very interesting phrase to describe what implementing AI is, right? And it's, according to her, she said implementing AI is like tap dancing on an avalanche, right? And I think it was very apt. It's very apt for the reasons that, you need to stay alive. at the end of it, as well as the fact that it's a constantly changing landscape. Almost every day there is a new player. Almost every day there is a new thought process. Almost every day there's probably someone like me, or every minute someone like me talking about how you should be doing it versus not. Right. So how do you stay upright in this constantly changing environment? Right. And also create something that is responsible, that is responsive, that is accurate, and value generating as well, and not value destroying. And all of this, on a rapidly changing self-learning technology stack. Because as I said, obviously the technology is changing, but generative AI by definition is self-learning. By definition is going to be evolving by itself, right? So how do you keep on top of this? And basically, how do you keep on top of the avalanche, right? So I don't know if any of you ski, but most of these guys who ski on outside the piste, or outside the on in such rough terrain, they have a special jacket which automatically inflates if they get stuck, if they get under an avalanche. So the question is, what is our inflatable jacket that will save us from getting bogged down by the avalanche? And that's also a big question mark in terms of curating and designing your strategy to implement AI. Okay, so this is number two. How do you implement AI in a constantly changing landscape, right? Number three, right, that influenced me was company size. So should our approach to AI be different based on the size, or does size matter from a company perspective, right? So as we know, right, we would typically have three different company sizes. Yeah, you have your small size, your mid size, and your large size. And what at least struck us was that depending upon the size of company, we have a smaller company would potentially would have lesser resources, and as a consequence, they would have a lower appetite to experiment, right? So they would also have a lower risk tolerance level, a lower ability, to try out different things and experiment to find out what best suits them. On the flip side, a larger firm does have all the resources. They have normally a larger appetite to experiment, a larger set of resources at their disposal to tolerate more risk. But whereas mid-sized company is kind of that Goldilocks place where, okay, just right place where, okay, they don't have a lot of resources to experiment with, nor do they have nothing to experiment with. So they do have a little bit of leeway in terms of trying out new things, and not only implementing what my neighbors told me, right? So that also did influence our stance, because like I said, I work in a mid-sized company, and that did influence us to help us realize that yes, we have some ability to try out something new, but again, we don't have the ability to go crazy and do a lot of stuff, right? So if I were to superimpose this on the standard change adoption curve, which I'm sure a lot of you all are familiar with, right? So as you know, on the right hand side you have your laggards, on your left hand side you have your early adopters, and in the middle you have the early and late majorities. This is where I would see companies also finding themselves. That is, the smaller size companies would potentially be followers. So I mean, I wouldn't use the word laggards per se, but they would be more the followers, in the sense that they would be more implementing technologies and products that are proven, so to speak, right? Whereas on the flip side, the larger companies, like for example, one of my earlier companies, that Nestle, that I worked for, I mean, they have a bigger appetite, to try out stuff, to try out new stuff, and not only off-the-shelf proven products, right? They have the appetite to really implement AI in a way that makes a lot of sense for them specifically, versus buying something off the shelf, right? And then of course the mid-sized firms over there, we have a responsibility to try out both. That is, not only to try out the off-the-shelf products, but also to see how we can do stuff which is a little bit more cutting edge and a little bit more tailored to what we need, right? So that was the company size element. And in summary, these were the three topics, right? The first one was try and differentiate between traditional versus generative. Don't get stuck with trying to implement traditional AI. This is proven, as I guess our next speaker is going to talk about. Traditional AI is proven. It does add value. There's a lot of technologies. There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of ideas out there in the world where you can directly, just lift and shift and pick and apply. So with traditional, you shouldn't spend a lot of time. It's a no-brainer. You should do it, and as fast as you can. With generative, that's where it would take a little bit more thought process, right? And that's the first thing to differentiate what is traditional versus generative. The second thing is it's a fine line that divides, a successful implementation from a disaster, as we saw in the avalanche video, right? So if you get it right, you'll stay on top of the avalanche. If you don't get it right, it will very easily overwhelm you, right? And finally, as a mid-sized company, I'm speaking from my experience here, from my perspective here, and in my role, I have a responsibility not only to bring in what is proven out there, but also to push the envelope in terms of what more can I implement that would add more value to my business colleagues, right? So the question at the end of the day is, how can we strike a balance between all these three? And that is what has shaped a lot of my thoughts, my processes that I've implemented myself at my firms, right? So let's jump into what I've done to give you a better explanation, a better understanding of what could be a way forward. So the first thing would be to approach it from two angles. So one angle would be, let's apply the what and the how wisely. Now, what does what and how mean? I'll talk about that a little bit in terms of adopt, adapt, and expand, the three levels. And from the other side, apply the where and the who wisely as well. So in terms of where do we apply it, identify where it needs to be applied, onboard who it's going to be applied with in terms of the people, and then finally measure it as well. Okay, so we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail. So let's jump directly into the what for now. So level one, apply the what and the how, right? So this is what I would call adopt. Now, when I call adopt, this is what I mean, when I said there's a lot of technologies out there that is generative, that is on generative AI. That's already available, right? So these are tools that you can already buy off the shelf. And these are tools that we need to be very clear on understanding that they are generative. These tools have been trained on data. And this data is publicly available data, right? So it's common sense data. So these are products that are already there, trained on what I call common sense data. So examples would be, as I hopefully you're aware of. I mean, the biggest example, obviously, you should be aware of is ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT has been trained on all kinds of data, I think, on the internet up until January 2022 or 2020. I forget the right date. But, it's been trained on the internet up until then. So all data that's there on the internet, all common sense data, I would call it. Similarly, you've got Copilot, you've got Google Bard, and a few other products there. And these are products, that will help you already get off, hit the ground running from an AI implementation perspective, right? So I use Copilot today, right? And it helps me a lot in terms of, tweaking some presentations if I need to, giving me content if I generic content if I want it. Just the other day, I was finalizing an RFP for a license renewal of one of my products, and I wanted content in terms of, okay, what should I put in the RFP? And this is normally generic content that I got ChatGPT to just help me with literally 30 seconds. Similarly with generic translation, right? So we use Copilot embedded within Outlook. That I get mails from many of my colleagues that are not in English, and I can just click a button that translates the email immediately. So this is what I would call off-the-shelf AI that is already available, trained on public data, trained on common sense data, and can already help a lot of organizations become more efficient in what they do, right? Then, of course, I put a line over here, buy versus build. This is always a question that, in my role we have had, which is, should we buy it off a vendor or should we build it ourselves, right? And in this case, I would definitely say it's a buy. right? There is no point in building it yourselves when you've got experts out there who have spent millions already building it themselves. The license cost to buy these products would be much lower than, in the long run would be much lower than building it yourselves, right? Because at best these examples, as I explained the previous bullet, they would be giving you competitive advantage only, right? Or efficiency only. They're not going to give you strategic advantage. So in summary, this is what I call level 1. And for me, in my opinion, it's no longer an option to grow, but an obligation to grow for all company sizes, right? And for me, this is urgent. So everybody, resource permitting, should embark or get onto this bus, at least the level 1 bus of buying off the shelf products and implementing it. It's a no-brainer today. It's no longer an option to grow. It's an obligation to grow for all of us if we really want to stay ahead of the curve. Okay, so that's level 1. So we'll take questions at the end, right? So let me go directly into level 2. So level 2 is, as it says, it's literally a level 2. It's literally a step 2, right? You're going a step ahead in terms of not just adopting what's out there, but you start adapting these products to be specific to your industry, to be specific to your company, to be specific to your environment, right? So the expectation over here would be to then use these products, but that are trained on your company's data, right? And not only common sense or publicly available information. This is a chat GPT like product that is also trained on your own company data, so that when it is used, it gives you company specific information and not just common sense, right? So this would allow the products to produce content that is specific to your company's context. So examples could be internal HR chatbots that could help an employee or an associate answer questions about your own company's rules and regulations, policies, and so on and so forth, right? And not only what's out there in the industry, it would be also about, okay, what's your company's, I don't know, leave policy? What's your company's maternity policy? What's your company's paternity policy, and so on and so forth. So this is not something that you would normally publish out there that a chat GPT would know, right? This is something that a GPT-like product would need to be trained on your own data before it can actually be used, right? So other examples are enterprise search. So this is really important as well. In many of my previous roles, I've used the words, phrases, that is, if only a company knew what it knows, right? There is just so much information that most mid-sized to and even smaller size company has that very often you wouldn't know. It's just distributed in different Google, in different drives, in different folders, in different SharePoints, and so on and so forth. So enterprise search is also a very good application, which would be able to, it would be great if you could just type in and say, okay, get me all those contracts that I have with vendors that have a price increase clause built into it, right, due to inflation. Imagine a tool that could go out there, find all those contracts that we have with vendors that have a price clause built in, which is linked to inflation. We could immediately then go back to those vendors or customers and say, okay, I'm increasing my prices because it's part of the clause. Or if it's a vendor, you would then mitigate that, saying, oh, okay, this guy's probably going to come back with a price increase next year. I need to mitigate it. Maybe let me already launch an RFP and look at who else is out there, right? So that's a good example of enterprise search. Similarly, marketing copy, right? So our marketing colleagues spend a lot of time creating copy material that is then pushed out on social media and traditional media, and a lot of time goes on, on proof checking, on getting the images, and so on and so forth. A good use case could be, not could be, it is. I know it because a lot of company uses it, where we have generative AI going and creating the basic copies for marketing campaigns, and then of course it gets scrutinized and approved by a human. But it saves a huge amount of time. But that is only possible if that generative AI tool has been trained on your company's data, on your company's marketing material, on your company's images, on your company's IP, right? It cannot get that from out there in the world, from publicly available information, right? Similarly, you have next best action type of recommendation engines. Yeah, imagine your customer service agent in a call center. Imagine your sales rep out on the field. Imagine that they have the ability of a tool that would prompt them to say that, okay, why don't you visit this customer, or why don't you call this customer, because their AMC is expiring, right? Or they are or their product is going to become obsolete, or in the last call that you had with them, they had expressed an interest. Imagine that you have this little buddy with you that could nudge you on what to do next. And this is not science fiction. I'm telling you, all of what I've just indicated here, I know for a fact is out there. And a lot of this are products that are topics that I'm involved in already, right? So this is the next level, which is where you've taken a product off the shelf, but you've trained it on your data, right? And that's where it would then start adding value in terms of not just being a source of competitive advantage, but it starts becoming a strategic advantage as well, right? Imagine that buddy sitting on your shoulder and giving you those nudges based on data that is proprietary to you, right? Not every competitor probably has that today, and it definitely becomes more of a strategic advantage and not only just a competitive advantage, right? So here the question would then be, do you buy or do you build? And in my opinion, this is a combination of both. You buy the base product, and then you train that product on your data. So you build on top of it, right? You build on the machine learning algorithms, on the training data, and so on and so forth. But over here, the big watch out is data, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So if your company is not confident on the data it has, don't even try this, right? It's better to not to have that little buddy or that nudging bot on your shoulder giving you rubbish nudges based on rubbish data. Then it's better not to have anything than having that, right? So unless you are highly confident on the data that you're going to be training your AI tool on, don't even bother. So if you think you are ready with your data, I mean, if I take any of these examples, like the HR chatbot, if you really have good, reliable policies documented and in place that that the tool can learn, great, go ahead, right? Similarly, your marketing material, if you have got good copyright material, if you've got good IP, yes, go ahead. The nudging next best action. If you have got good, reliable data in terms of past interactions with the customers, good, reliable data about the customer profile, customer buying or selling history, yeah, go ahead. But if not, please, the first step would be to get your data right before you actually embark on something like this, right? The other watch out would be is obviously level 2 is more resource intensive and obviously more risk prone, right? So it's probably better suited for the mid-sized companies that I was talking about earlier. So it is where you need to put in a little bit more time, a little bit more money, a little bit more effort in terms of ensuring that when you experiment, it doesn't blow up in your face. This is exactly that avalanche situation where you're not yet at the point where you want to inflate your jacket to get you that pulls you above the avalanche. You're still in that place where, as you saw, that guy is still trying to stay upright, right? And for me, that's where level 2 is the trick of staying upright, because inflating the jacket is when you've already exploded, right? And the point is not to get to that level. Okay, so that's level 2. Then, of course, we've got level 3, and this one is really, let's say, this is really cutting edge. And I'm sure there are many firms out there that are at the level 3 stage. Personally, we are getting there. We are not yet there. We have just started on level 3, and level 3 is expanding, right? And expanding primarily meaning implementing feedback loops. In other words, letting your AI learn from its mistakes or from its past interactions, right? So this is what I mean when I say implement feedback loops of that end user interaction with the AI tools to capture enough data for the AI tool to subsequently mine and learn from. So if I take the example of the HR chatbot, I mean, if the chatbot gives an answer saying, okay, your leave allowance is whatever, 20 odd days a year. But in reality, the person who's asking the question is, he or she is of a certain age where they get more than 25 days, or they get a day or two more. That individual could write back and saying, sorry, I have actually 26 days, right? Or I have a couple of days more because I'm whatever, 50 plus. So let the AI learn that, okay, maybe the question the AI should have asked is, what's your age? So as to give a better answer, right? So that's an example. Similarly, think of that buddy that is nudging the salesperson. It could very well be, that the salesperson goes back to the buddy and says, sorry, your recommendation makes no sense. I just visited this customer last week. Or he or she's got an AMC that is expiring. But if you check my call closure notes from last time, you'll see that they have already indicated that they are closing down their business, right? Or something like that. So this is the next holy grail of implementing AI, which is letting the AI learn from its mistakes, letting the AI learn from its interactions, right? And implementing those feedback loops. So it's not only about allowing a one-way street where the AI only goes and looks at past data, but it's also about capturing the data of the interaction that it just had and feeding that back into your data lake, or so that that your AI can mine that information and learn from it, right? Through machine learning or through other mechanisms that you might want to implement. Okay. So as I said, this would allow for the AI to constantly learn from its successes. Now, this is where the question comes of buying versus building. And over here, I think for me, it's a no-brainer. This is a build, right? I mean, obviously, you might start with a buy. In a sense, you buy the basic, whatever, GPT 3.5 framework or OpenAI 3.5 framework. You start training it in a level 2 on your own data, which involves a little bit of build. But then once you get to level 3, it's a complete build, right? You take the basic tool, but you are building the machine learning algorithms. You are building the data lake that would need to store this data. So it's almost a complete build. I would say the ratio would be 10% of effort in terms of the buying the basic product. The remaining 90% is the build, right? Where you it then becomes your proprietary product. And in most industries, this would be company IP, right? It could be capitalized. It could be CapEx kind of expenditure. So this is definitely strategic. It's a strategic advantage, right? But at the same point of time, a level 3 is way more resource intensive, way more prone to risk. Because, imagine if you don't have the right guardrails and the machine or the AI learns by itself or learns the wrong things, and it just goes and creates a mess out there without enough vigilance, without enough guardrails around it. So it's definitely more risk prone. It's definitely more resource intensive. It definitely needs much more safety nets to be built around it. Right? So it's not something that anyone or any company should jump directly into. That's why it's a level 3. Okay. So that's it. So that's the 3 levels with which at least we are trying to move forward. It's the 3 levels that is in everything that is in my mind, and every use case that we get, we try and evaluate it on these 3 levels. Okay. So now the next angle, if you remember on the right hand side of my previous slide, was the where and the who. Okay, I realize I'm a little bit behind in terms of time, so I'm going to go a little bit faster here. So this is a bit more, you'll find that I don't have a lot of content on the where and who. And the reason for this is really company culture specific, right? It really depends a lot about of your company. It's not like the previous section, which is fairly, okay, it's a lot of common sense. You got your products out there. It's a step approach to how do you want to implement it. But the where and the who is very sensitive to the company culture, the company processes, the company individuals that would get impacted, right? So first step would be, clearly differentiate between task automation versus task augmentation, because it has a big impact. Typically, automation could lead to a human impact, right? It could lead to job reductions. But task augmentation is not necessarily going to have a human cost, because it really helps the person do their job better, right? So it doesn't necessarily have a human impact, right? With generative AI. So that's the first thing. Be clear about traditional versus generative. Second thing is responsible AI. It is very, very important to put in place responsible AI. As in, please don't jump directly in processes that are very critical for your company. Don't jump into processes that have privacy could have privacy impact. So, for example, a process that captures customer data. Be very careful exposing AI to it, because the last thing you would want is the AI to have access to GDPR type of data that is then used and shared and used in marketing materials somewhere. So you need to be very careful where you implement AI as well. Implement it in processes that won't blow up in your face even if something goes wrong, right? Implement it in processes that, at least in my company, we are a medtech device, so we will not implement AI in processes that affect patient safety, right? We will not impact AI in processes that could impact key influencer, opinions, right? We will not implement AI. Of course, then you have common sensing. Don't implement AI in anything that could affect elections, right? As well. Or there would be companies that do that, but at least for us, it's a big no-go. So that's what responsible AI is. So in terms of the where, please be very careful in identifying the processes that you want to implement it in. Clearly classify what is high risk. If it is high risk, the advice would be to avoid to start with. If it is high vigilance, put it in, but put in good guardrails to ensure that there is a lot of checks and balances before AI is allowed to operate completely independently, right? And last but not the least, as I said at the very start, identify the human cost. If the human cost is high, be careful, right? If the big watch out over here in the success of AI is it's only as good as the people that will use it, right? If your employees and associates aren't behind you in terms of implementing AI in certain processes, it's a failure. And I've already had a program where I spent 2 years trying to implement AI. It just didn't work for a very simple use case, and the reason was that people were scared of their jobs. It's taken a lot of education. It's taken a lot of hand holding with them to understand, to help them get on board. And that's my next slide, which is why it's a good segue, right? So this is basically, I'm going to directly jump to all the points, which is educate the associates that are going to be impacted. Educate them on AI. Not all associates are at the same level of understanding of what AI is. I mean, everybody comes to the table with a different set of skills. A salesperson would not necessarily be tech savvy, right? An HR associate may not necessarily be tech savvy. A manufacturing associate may not necessarily be tech savvy. So take them with you, right? Educate them on what is AI. How can it help them do their jobs better? And it's not, and help them move away from it being a threat to their jobs to actually being an enabler for their jobs, right? So similarly, if of course, a person's job does get affected, the answer should not be, okay, let's get rid of the role. The answer should be, okay, how do you use the time to upgrade or upskill the people to do more value-adding stuff? For example, in the previous case of the sales associate, where assuming they have a next best action kind of buddy sitting on their shoulder, the answer is not to have lesser salespeople. The answer is to help the person spend more time in the field selling, right, rather than going and searching 100 different reports on what was the customer sales last month, what is my marketing campaign, and so on and so forth. No, the person spends more time selling, right? So use the time savings wisely to upgrade and upskill the person in doing what they should be doing rather than what they should not be doing. That also goes into the next bullet, which is deepen the work roles rather than eliminate, right? So you're deepening the sales or the HR associates role in terms of what they should be doing rather than, looking to eliminate the jobs, right? And this can only work if you involve them at a very early stage. So don't build the product and then don't use the waterfall method from a project management methodology, right? This is perfect candidate for agile Scrum methodologies, wherein you keep the end user in the loop at the very, very beginning. without them, it's not going to work, right? And last but not the least, create a culture of respect. In the sense, respect AI as you would respect your colleague, right? So if you think about any team that you have today, any new team goes through the typical stages, right? What is it? Forming, norming, storming, performing, right? But performing doesn't mean it is, hunky-dory, happy life, happy wife, happy life kind of situation. No, even when you are in a performing team, there are conflicts. The only difference is that those conflicts get resolved faster. And the reason for that is respect, in my opinion, right? A performing team, yes, they will be, they will have the duet, which I mean over here, that they're all singing from the same hymn sheet. But there will be cases of doubt where there may be people, who might doubt on another's what the other person has done. If so, debate with respect, right? And resolve the situation and then repeat, go back to the harmonious situation. And do the same with AI. AI is not going to be an answer to all your problems. It is also learning, right? So work with it, have a healthy amount of doubt to be sure that it is doing what it should be doing. If you think it's not doing what it's doing, call it out, check whether it's doing the right thing, and then yes, go back and work with it. So it shouldn't be a case of 100% dependence. Yeah, I 100% believe on whatever AI will do, right? And at the other spectrum, it shouldn't be a case of 100% doubt, saying that I'm 100% sure everything that AI does is rubbish, right? There has to be that healthy respect, right? So create that culture of respect AI as you would respect your colleague. Okay. All right. So this is my last slide now, and this is about measurement. So I'm just going to go to put all these points here, right? It's very important to measure the value of AI. Yeah, you'd want to measure anything that you're going to put your money behind, right? So try and put in measures at the very start of the project to decide, okay, what defines success? How would I know if AI is actually added value? Try and put those measures in at the very start, right? Rather than trying to put it at the very end and trying to measure value. But at the same point of time, the next line is, don't let the lack of value generation derail the implementation. In other words, don't put the cart in front of the horse. Why? Because AI will change faster than you can measure it. Maybe what you're trying to measure is already outdated, right? So if you find that value is not there, don't get disappointed. Give it some time. You might be measuring the wrong things, and you might be putting, the value or the measures in front of the horse, which is AI in this case. Don't do that. Give it some time to show the values. If you're lucky, you'll see the value right away. But if depending upon where you've implemented, it might take some time. So don't give up too fast, right? And my last thought that I want to leave you with today is, is implementing AI akin to the too big to fail school of thought? So as you know, we had the banking crisis, all across the world in the last many years ago. We had many banks that failed. But many banks that were on the verge of failing, that were bailed out by the governments, right? Why? Because they were too big to fail. Meaning, you just can't avoid those banks or those institutions not being there in the market. We have to have them there. And for me, AI is like that. Not implementing AI is, for me, like the too big to fail. You can't not implement AI. You can't not get on the bandwagon today, in my opinion. You really have to get onto the AI bandwagon, because for me, in my opinion, AI has reached that place where it is not implementing it would leave you in a position it's really too big to fail. Too big to fail, as in the company might fail if you don't have AI implemented in some form or manner going forward, right? And with that, that's it. I think I'm slightly over. Apologies for that. So that's all that I had for today. I know it's a lot to take in. I try and summarize the best that I could. But yeah, I'm happy to open the floor to any questions, Dawn, if you think time permits.
It was a really wonderful session, sir. Because everyone talks about AI and Chat GPT and everything else. So you give a perspective from both the sides. So you're talking you're walking the talk and talking the walk also, right? So that means basically you are in the company of yours where you are evaluating as to what kind of technology should come in, what the kind of technology should stay, and what kind of technology you should not get into. So it's a really marvelous three-dimensional kind of topic, because this is something which is new even for me also, because you touched upon certain points, like how artificial intelligence could be very dangerous, especially if it's not controlled well. End of the day, it's artificial intelligence, right? We also saw a couple of examples where self-driven cars, and it was not functioned fully, and it just drove over the manager, and he suffered a lot of fractures, for example. So just one question, food for thought. I would never like to be driving or sitting in a car which is self-driven and going on a mountain, and you're just depending on hoping that artificial intelligence will work. If it doesn't work, next day my photo will be on the paper, right? So with this, the floor is open for questions. Rakesh, with your permission, we could take two or three. We are on time, because the
Sure.
next scheduled presenter, we have already told he'll be joining at 6:15, so not an issue at all. So audience, anyone online or offline here also can ask your questions. Remember, this is a person who's been dealing with technology, not just learning about it. So any questions from anyone, delegates, students, faculties, any questions coming up?
Sir, I have one question.
Rakesh, there's one question for, okay, there is, yeah. Yeah. We have one student who's going to ask question. Go, please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I'm Namita Kamath, and my question goes like this: how can individual cultivate an innovative mindset and approach in their personal and professional lives?
Okay. So again, I think thanks for the question. I think it's a fairly generic question, and it probably doesn't apply only to AI, right? It applies to any of the topics I guess most of the speakers would be talking about. And the answer for me is just continuous learning, right? It is really continuous learning. And when I was creating these slides, I was a little bit apprehensive about using words and concepts over here, because it's nearly 25 years since I did my MBA, and I'm really rusty, right? I don't remember half the concepts I learned, and I'm presenting to you guys. You guys are inside SDM. You guys are doing, some of you all are doing your course right now. You're much more closer to the latest and greatest now. So I was a little bit apprehensive before using words and concepts, but the point I'm trying to make over here is that that's not an excuse for me, right? I should not be apprehensive, because the answer I constantly give everybody in my team, and what I advise people and companies, is that learning is very important. It is every individual's responsibility to keep up to date and self-learn on what is happening out there today, right? So even with respect to the topic of AI, we have got a number of learning courses or learning paths for our teams and employees in places like LinkedIn Learning, in places like Udemy. So all this is given free of cost to our employees, right? So it's very important that an employee or an associate or a student, for that matter, keeps on top of these topics by themselves. Please don't. The message is that please don't expect someone else to manage your career for you. Your career, your learning is completely in your hands, right? And I don't know if did that answer your question, Namita, or did I miss
Yes,
it
sir.
out?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
good. Thanks.
Chat box from Jyoti Kulkarni. I think she has put a couple of pointers. So let me just quickly go through it. All said and done, sir. Don't you think that implementation of AI will not have the humanitarian approach which is needed in some situations while managing the business? So this is first of our questions. Would you want to take it on?
Absolutely, 100% agree, right? And this is completely what I said a little bit earlier about responsible AI. You should not implement AI in cases which, need the face-to-face approach. I mean, very clean examples would be for us at least, it's, you're in performance appraisal time, right? And, I've had to do a lot of this in the last few days. And this is for example, an area that I would never expect AI to actually come in and do my job for me, right? AI should not be going and carrying out performance appraisals with any of my teams. That's my job. That's my responsibility. At best, yes, AI can augment my job over here in the sense that I could perhaps envision or imagine an AI that could, maybe in 30 seconds, give me a summary, or 5 seconds, give me a summary of this employee's or this team member's performance over the last 5 years, right? Give it to me in 5 minutes. Download every single performance appraisal, summarize it, and give me the gist of it. But that is for me to consume as information before I actually go and have that face-to-face conversation with my employee, right? So you're absolutely right. Sorry, Jyoti, right? Cases or processes that require a human face-to-face interaction is for me a big no-go in terms of implementing AI. HR is one area, for example. Patient interaction is another area. Anything that involves giving or receiving sensitive messages with another human, for me, either needs a lot of guardrails around it when implementing AI or should be avoided altogether. Right? So for me, these are use cases for augmentation rather than complete replacement, for sure.
Yes, thank you, Rakesh, and thank you, Jyoti Kulkarni, too, for the wonderful question. And she also has a second question. Does it not restrict human creativity when AI is implemented? Rakesh, over to you.
No, I don't think so. For me, technology and tools have always been the cornerstone of human evolution. Sorry, I don't want to become philosophical now, but I mean, I don't think the invention of the wheel or the discovery of the wheel, prevented humans from being more creative, right? The wheel then spurred the usage of that wheel in all forms and manner in our daily lives, from its use in gears, from the use to actually move objects. In my opinion, AI is going to spur creativity even more than it does now. Imagine a person who today spends 8 hours out of a 10-hour shift just doing, and spending 2 hours only thinking how to better do his job. If you have AI that could augment his job and give him an extra one, or her an extra couple of hours to think instead of doing, that individual has a couple more hours or 3 more hours thinking more, creating more value in terms of how can he or she do his or her job better than what they would have been doing. So for me, yes, AI will replace some activities. It will augment, it will help you do things better. But I don't think it is going to stop you from creativity. The only thing that would stop someone from creating more would be they themselves, right? You are your own, I would say, obstacle in that respect, in my opinion. Did that answer the question, hopefully?
I believe we have one last question from MBA student itself. Being an MBA student, how should students be ready for the innovative disruption, especially with respect to AI and all, from a job marketer's point of view? If I can summarize the question, I believe the student wants to know as to know they are worried about, okay, there's one side is an excitement, another side there is a lot of fear also, like a lot of job losses and a lot of these things are there. So being a present MBA student, how should they be ready for the future disruptions? Because our topic is also all about that: innovation and disruption,
Yeah.
navigating the future business landscape. So if you could touch upon this, again, it's a bit of a general question, but if you could touch upon it, would be great, Rakesh.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not an easy one, right? I feel, for anyone who thinks along those lines, and I have thought about it myself, right? Which is, do I have the right skills that's needed now to get onto the job market? For those of us who are starting new jobs, do I have the right skills to get another job or to move out of my existing job? I mean, it's very, very valid thoughts. And again, my answer over here is linked a little bit earlier to my previous points, which is not to give up, which is not to assume that that you have boundaries or limitations in terms of what you can do. And what I'm getting back at is self-learning. For example, over here, even at my firm and my company, I've asked many people to, for example, pick up a learning path on data science, right? Go out there and learn what the basics are. What's data science? Nobody's asking you to become a machine learning data scientist, right? Or sorry, a machine learning expert who is a data scientist. No, I mean, of course, you could, no doubt, if you have the capability and if you have the drive, you go ahead. But for most of us, okay, I'll speak for myself. I think I'm a little bit. I've gone beyond the point where I can think as fast as I could think when I was 25 years younger. So I may not be able to become a data scientist, but for sure, I think it's my responsibility to know what data science is about. So I mean, from my initial introduction, I have no experience or actual expertise on in data science. I come from an SAP background. I used to, prior to that, do a lot of work in sales and after sales in the business. So from a technology perspective, the only language that I learned in my engineering was, what was it, BASIC or Fortran those days, right? And I think I did C on my own in the 90s. So I've never had any formal training on any of these languages. And frankly, that for me did turn out to be a little bit difficult when I wanted to change roles a few years earlier. And the solution for me was, I had to go and learn things myself. It's not to become a coder. It's not to become a data scientist. It's just to know, right? So everything I've spoken to you about today is not from a perspective of being an expert. It is just from, perspective of talking to others, interacting, reading, learning. Bottom line, go out there. At least it's better if you know 10% of the latest topics that are out there today than none at all, right? So if you're going out there for a job interview, it's better that you at least know what is data science. You at least know what is machine learning. You at least know what are applications of of machine learning, for example, right? It's better to know that than not to know anything at all. So my answer would be self-learning. Keep at it. That would be it. I don't know if that helps, but there is no other golden
That's
bullet.
really wonderful, Rakesh. So before I close, we also have our next technical speaker, Mr. AVELO Roy, sir, who has joined us. So thank you, sir, for joining in ahead. We'll be starting off with your session in 5 to 6 minutes, sir. So again, once again, welcome to you also from SDM MBA family, sir. So
Thank you so much.
Rakesh, just a wonderful session. In fact, we got some couple of good comments also. Jyoti Kulkarni ma'am is also saying very interesting and informative session, sir. Thank you. So before we officially close it, Rakesh, is there anything else you want to tell before I finally switch on to the vote of thanks?
No, I think I've said enough. Again, like I just said at the start, very humble. Thank you for for inviting me. As I said, SDM's been a big part of my educational ecosystem in the 90s. Unfortunately, I never really studied them myself, but I'm sure you're doing great things, and I'm sure each and every one of you. And thank you, one of you at the faculty is doing a great job. So thank you once again, and I wish each and one of you the very best of luck.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. Please don't leave. We have a special thanking video, just a minute of time. So I request you to kindly stop sharing your screen so that I can just share mine for a minute. wisdom from your wonderful set of knowledge. So thank you once again, Rakesh.
You're very welcome.
And,
Thank you so much.
Just a second. Yes. Yeah. So thank you so much once again. And I also would like to thank all the participants who have joined us from across the world, all our delegates, our students, and everyone. Let's get ready for the next jam-packed session. Mr. AVELO Roy is online and he will be taking over. So Rakesh sir, I would request, in case you have time, you're most welcome to stay along. So with this, thank you once again, Rakesh. I'll get in touch with you again post the program itself. So there are a lot of applause from everyone.
Thank you.
So this is just a jam pack. I wanted you to see it. A lot of people all over the world. So thank you so much. A big thumbs up from our side too. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Esteemed researchers and scholars, greetings from SDM College of Business Management Postgraduate Center for Management Studies and Research, Mangalore. We are thrilled to invite you to our 2 days international e-conference on innovation and disruption, examining how businesses can foster innovation and handle disruptive forces, scheduled on 22nd and March 23, 2024. This premier 2-day event offers a global platform to present cutting-edge research papers, interact with distinguished speakers, network with peers worldwide, publish in our prestigious ISSN journal. Don't miss this opportunity to be part of path-breaking discussions on innovation strategies, digital transformation, emerging technologies, entrepreneurship, and more. Please click the key links provided in the PDF. Limited seats. Register now to secure your virtual or in-person participation. For queries, write to internationalconference@sdmmba.ac.in. Kindly do share this in your network. There are also exciting contests like Sensex Contest, Best Paper, Most Referred for Registration, etc. Looking forward to your insightful participation. Warm regards, the Organizing Committee. SDM MBA, Mangalore.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, sir. Are you there? Can you hear me, sir? Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. Don Prakash. How are you?
I am doing great, sir. A long time. I believe last time we met here in SDM College itself when you were on
Yes,
a tour to Mangalore. It is a real
yes,
privilege to have you again, sir. And thank you once again for making your time out from your valuable schedule and coming here and addressing people all over the world as well as our MBA students, delegates, and participants, sir. So, with your
my
permission, shall
pleasure.
I just kickstart the session, sir?
Sure, just I'm having one technical issue. My camera somehow is not turning on. So I'll not be able to probably not to the camera, but I'll share my slides and everything. I hope you
Yes,
can
sir.
hear me okay. Am I audible? Hello?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Hello.
Hello?
Just a second, sir. We're just changing our audio track. 1 minute, sir. Yes, sir. With your permission, shall we start it off, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
Great, sir. So, a very good evening once again to everyone who have gathered here. This has been a wonderful learning day today. It started, sir, at 9:30 a.m. IST, that is Indian Standard Time, with the inauguration done by the Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Dr. P.L. Dharma, sir, followed by the guest of honor and the keynote speaker was Mr. Mayur Shetty, doing wonders and has got some 6 national awards already. And we also have an alumnus chief guest who has recently become a principal of Trisha College of Commerce and Management. So they were part of the inauguration during 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning. 10:40 to 11:40 was the keynote speaker, Mr. Mayur Shetty, touching upon various aspects of innovation, especially giving his own examples. 12 to 1, we had Mr. Sandeep Nashikar, founder and CEO of Civizo Software Australia. He spoke on the topic World with APIs Today. And I believe the invitation, the details are already there with you, sir. Just now, we finished one more dynamic session from Mr. Rakesh Nambiar, Director of Business Technology, Alcon, Switzerland. And his topic was an interesting one again, implementing AI in mid-size organization and insider's view. So he spoke about the good things about AI and other technologies and the dangers also, and how we need to be very careful and utilize AI to make an improvement, yet be a little cautious. And now we head towards a wonderful session here. And our second year students who were first year last year had the proud privilege to witness you physically here, and the feedbacks went out of the roof, sir. So a little bit about AVELO, sir, before he takes on. I know no one wants to hear me today. Everyone wants to hear you. Sir is the managing director and startup mentor at Kolkata Ventures, Kolkata, and trustee of Alfred School of Business, Belgium. And a little bit about Sir. He is also the director of ECC Engineering Private Limited, Kolkata. He is the board of advisors, Amity University Online. Marketing advisor, ISCON North America and European Union. Former startup advisor, Prime Minister of Nepal office directly. Board of Advisor, Atal Incubation Center, UP, Odisha, and Karnataka. Guest lecture at Illinois Institute of Technology, USA, Northwestern University, USA, 8 IITs, Delhi, Bombay, Kharagpur, Bhubaneswar, Goa, Hyderabad, Patna, Guwahati, 3 IIMs. Facts and figures again. 500 plus speaking engagements in US and India, including White House panel for entrepreneurship education, Startup America, Invest India at Rashtrapati Bhavan, TEDx Talks, Josh Talks, and much more. 150 plus awards in India, US, Canada, and China. 1,800 plus startup mentees in India, USA, Canada, and China. Avelo Roy is a serial tech entrepreneur, investor, and TV host who started his first startup at the age of 19 around his patent pending technology while still studying as a computer engineer at Illinois Institute of Technology. He built it into a multi-million dollar valuation by the age of 22. He has built 8 businesses in the US and India with multi million dollar worth of products and services ranging from consumer electronics, artificial intelligence systems, healthcare process automation, food science, wireless communication, wearable technology, and graphical password application. As the great great grandson of Sarojini Naidu, who was the poet, politician, and the first female governor of India, Avelo sir continues the legacy forward by tirelessly serving the Indian youth through entrepreneurship education using lean startup methodology and principle of Bhagavad Gita. His efforts through Kolkata ventures in the past 5 years have resulted in 500 plus revenue generating startup responsible for around 4,700 new job creations in 10 states of East India. Avelo's management style is derived from the principle of Bhagavad Gita. He's an influential youth icon with monthly reach of 4 lakh youth over social media. Featured on 50 plus US and Indian media, including CNN Money, ABC 7, Chicago Tribune, Economic Times, Times of India, Entrepreneur Magazine, etc., etc. So Sir's profile goes on and on. And the reason I've told all this is we have people here at the age group where you started off, sir. So with this magnificent introduction, I would like to put my hands together for Mr. Avelo Roy, sir. Sir, the floor is open to you. If you need any questions from us before start or you need any help, please let us know. The floor is yours. We are eager to hear you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Don. Always a pleasure to be in your presence. You're such a positive person. Very grateful to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so I'm trying to share my screen. Just give me a second.
Yes, sir. I will give you a validation once it's up, sir.
Can you see my screen?
I think it just takes a couple of seconds.
Is it showing?
So it's just loading up, sir. Just a second. Still not up.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I think we can see your screen right now. I think you just need to load your PPT, sir. We can just see the mirroring of the same layout of a Google Meet, sir.
Mm, do you see the PPT now?
Yes, sir. We can see your PPT. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, as I was introduced. My name is Avelo Roy, and my journey started in Chicago as a student entrepreneur. This is me in second year in college, like many of you. Uh, used my, got a team of my friends together to build our startup, and together, with the help of our wonderful mentors, we're able to build multiple businesses, uh, raise money from investors, and have an amazing team. that was responsible for building more than $25 million worth of products and services in various domains, from artificial intelligence to food science to uh, wireless communication devices, all kinds of products and services. I was honored by the California State Senate for TED Talks, and then Kolkata Ventures was my way of giving back to my home city, Kolkata. And we started from Kolkata, then West Bengal, then East India, and now we have our startups all over the world in 9 countries, including many in Karnataka, where you are. The uniqueness about our business is that we have entrepreneurs who are established, who are themselves millionaires, who are with the government, as well as foreign governments. This was the Prime Minister of Nepal. We were sent by Modi ji. You can see some of the Shark Tank sharks here on this side. We created the entire Nepal ecosystem for startups. I also teach at multiple IITs, IIMs, and 2 US universities, as well as create policies so that your lives can be a little better when you graduate from college. So, just wanted to share this so that you pay a little attention for what I'm going to share for the next of the few slides. This was when Nokia died. Nokia used to be practically the largest cell phone company in the entire world till they didn't realize that somebody else was popping up, namely Steve Jobs, back in Apple, building the iPhone. And as iPhone started proliferating, Google came into picture with Android phones, BlackBerry and Nokia slowly started dying away. And this is a very touching press conference by the CEO of Nokia at that time, saying, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." So you don't have to do anything wrong to get lost. If you don't keep up with times, if you don't uh, upgrade yourself, your technology, your skills, you will die. It's not a crime, but at the same time, to be relevant, you have to constantly keep growing. And these are examples of companies that have died because they didn't keep up with time. I'll use the example of Blockbuster. Blockbuster was the largest movie rental platform for America. People used to rent DVDs from Blockbuster. It was like a library. You go there, you rent a DVD, you watch the movies, you return it on time. If you don't return it on time, it will charge you penalties and fees. Most people would forget to return it, and they would have to pay penalties and fees. Came Netflix with the same model, except Netflix would ship it to your home. You don't have to come to a store. They didn't have any store, so they saved money on stores. They made it cheaper, and you could watch for as many times as long as you wanted. Soon, Blockbuster started closing down, and Netflix started growing. And then eventually, with the internet speed growing, with broadband proliferation, Netflix started streaming movies online, just like YouTube. And today, you see Netflix as it is, and Blockbuster does not exist. So, like that, many of these companies, Kodak, Motorola, Nokia, Yahoo, they all died because they didn't evolve fast enough. So, today, my topic is looking into the future and talking about uh, how businesses can grow with future technology, right? And when I say the word futurist, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do astrology. What it means is looking at predicting what could happen next based on data, based on the past, and based on the policies that the governments are making, right? So tomorrow is not very different than yesterday. History repeats itself. So we must look at the Industrial Revolution to understand how IT revolution, how the AI revolution will uh, occur and grow, and how new jobs will be created and old jobs will be eliminated. We need to look at the patents on Google to find out what are the new technologies coming up. Today, if the patent is filed, the technology is going to be commercialized in 3 to 5 years. So you can plan ahead of time based on where the world is going, right? So we need to observe, we need to analyze, and we need to predict. Based on data, we can tell what will tomorrow look like. For example, we probably all know who is going to be the next prime minister after these elections. We probably all know that there are going to be more iPhones made in India, more Apple stores coming up in different cities. We probably all know that electric vehicles are going to be more and more, and as a result, there's going to be charging stations created. There's going to be more need for battery manufacturing and battery production and lithium ion and all of that. It's going to be in huge demand in the upcoming years. Based on this prediction, can you buy stocks in companies that are going to make incredible amounts of money in the upcoming years? Oh, yes, absolutely. I'll tell you a real story. I'm right now in Coimbatore. Uh, and I remember almost 5 years ago, I was in Coimbatore. And at that time, the stock market prices for automobile industry tanked from Tata Motors to Ashok Leyland to Mahindra, all the companies, all the car companies, automobile companies, they were going down the drain, the stock prices, and they were firing employees in the thousands. And at that time, I was in Coimbatore, which is a place where a lot of automotive parts are manufactured. So as I was here for my work, I asked some of the automotive engineers, like, what's happening with industry? Why does it seem like you know the car industry, the automobile industry is going down? And their answer was, it's not going down. There's a change that's happening. Uh, Old people who were more used to diesel and petrol technology are being fired, and new people are being hired who are more in line with EV, electric vehicles. I was like, oh, is it? Is it like that? Yeah. Massive amounts of hiring is happening, and huge companies are emerging, and all are contributing to the electric vehicle revolution. I immediately went and bought the stocks for these automotive companies because I realized, aha, they're firing the older people, but they're hiring the new people. That means there's hope. That means they're going to do very, very well very, very soon. So at that time, Tata Motors was 150 rupees per share. I bought as many as I could. Right now, Tata Motors is 979 rupees, 980 rupees per share. Right? 150 to 980 per share. Please understand how many hundreds of percentage profit that is. And that is about predicting the future. That is about what will happen tomorrow. So when I say electric vehicles, Tata Chemicals, Tata Power, I'm not telling you what stocks to buy. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is, if you look at the stock market, with a world war happening, India exporting, India booming in manufacturing and production, and new trains. Just think about Vande Bharat. There are going to be thousands and thousands of more trains that are going to be converted to Vande Bharat. And that means there's going to be need for um, multiple things, from glass to lights to automated doors, right? Whatever Vande Bharat has, in the hundreds of thousands. And those companies who make those are going to make a lot of money. And if you buy the stocks, you're going to make a lot of money, right? So predicting the future is not hard. You don't need astrology. There are already so many things you know, and you need to understand what will happen tomorrow. So we have 5G technology now, and with 5G, more and more proliferating, speed of internet growing, technology, AI, everything growing. How do you think transportation and entertainment will evolve? Well, first of all, a lot of driverless cars. Maybe not cars, but driver, right? On the highways, there is, very direct routes. There's not much way to make mistakes on the highways. In Indian roads, much harder, unlike US roads. But cars that are on the highways can definitely be automated. Entertainment. How would entertainment change? How much time do you spend on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, right? So we are already spending so much time on entertainment. So more and more creators are going to come. More and more money is going to be made from the creator economy. So it's important that we understand this. My last company, um, we were able to replace 90% of the workforce with just one software that would do 7 days worth of human work in just one single software. And it doesn't give any breaks, any vacations, any salary. Now, when that happens, what happens? When you don't have to pay salary to hundreds of people, you make huge amounts of profits. But what happens to those people who lost their jobs? Well, either they upgrade themselves or they go for work for companies that don't upgrade themselves. That means the companies are also go out of business and the people working there are also lose their jobs. So it is important that we understand that technology is just a tool, but humans have to learn to be better humans. The 10% people who got hired are humans who had relationships with the customers. These are the people, these are the faces that could not be replaced with a robot or with a software or with automation because humans trust humans. So, as human beings, we will have more free time, we will have less to do, and we would have to do more human things that machines cannot do. And thereby, we relevant in 2030, 2040, 2050, 2060, and as time goes on. Let's look at how businesses were built back in the days. Product companies, manufacturing companies. You make one, you sell one. You make a product, you manufacture a product, you sell a product. Okay, you make profit per product. Service industry. You don't sell or make anything. You sell your services, you sell your time. And then you realize, oh, I don't have to be the only one. I can hire people under me who can be selling their time and I can make money from them. So a law firm, a firm, right? One CA can have 100 CAs under them. And for each CA, you're making money and you're paying them a salary. So that's a service provider. Hire one, sell one. Then comes the IT revolution, software company. You make one product, one app, one website, and you can sell it a million times, a billion times. WhatsApp made once, but 3 billion people are using it. One app made once, but 3 billion downloads. That's not a joke. That's how scalable it becomes, right? Imagine making one product in the manufacturing process and selling. So every product has a cost. But in the IT, in technology, you make one product and all you're paying after that is server cost, right? And then came even more brilliant, which is platform as a service, which is what Amazon is, or any marketplaces, Flipkart, Amazon, places like that, where you don't make anything, you don't sell anything. There are people who make, they sell on your platform, and there are people who come and buy from your platform, and you make money per transaction. You don't own anything. You simply provide the platform where people can transact. Somebody buys, somebody sells, and you make money in the middle. This is the most profitable way of making business, and no wonder Jeff Bezos is one of the richest people in the world. Now, uh, I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to quickly jump. So this quote is very important, especially in today's world. Warren Buffett says that if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work till you die. So it's important that you automate. And automation leads to making money while you sleep. For example, during the pandemic, there were many people selling courses. What did? They automated the whole thing. They created recordings of their courses, saved once, put it on a learning management platform, LMS, run Facebook ads and YouTube ads. People click on it, people pay an amount, they go watch the recording, they get a certificate at the end. The whole damn thing is automated. Throughout the clock, Facebook is doing the marketing. People are clicking, they're paying, they're watching, they're learning, they're getting a certificate. Complete automation. So much successful that that universities started adapting the same process. And today, so many universities from Harvard to Stanford to all the good universities have their online programs that are given out for dirt cheap because they're recordings. They're made once and can be sold a million times, a billion times. Make money while you sleep. I want to quickly just check. Am I audible? Is everything? Is everybody able to hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay. Perfect.
Sir,
So
can you
now
hear me?
I can hear you.
Great, sir. Wonderful session, sir. Keep going, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. So in any kind of business that we do, we must think about a goal, a revenue goal. When we have a revenue goal, then it's possible for us to build a business. And then we realize to reach the revenue goal, not only have do we have to sell products and services, but we have to save costs also. And that's where automation comes in. So first we create the business model where we sell multiple products at a certain price to reach the goal. So here's a goal I put in, a small goal, $1 million. Okay, so if you sell 5,000 products worth $200, you make $1 million. Or you have a subscription of $70 a month, you sell it to 5,000 people for 12 months, you have $1 million. So there are various ways of looking at how you reach that. But what about the operation? Where is the money going? So if you're making $1 million in revenue, but you're giving salaries worth $800,000, you're only making 200,000 profit. The more you remove salaries, the more automation you bring in, the more money you make. So then you look at your organizational structure and you try to think, where can I automate? Who can I replace with a software? What kind of person can I bring in who can just manage a software and charge me 1/10 of the salary, right? And thereby, slowly, slowly, you automate, you hire less people, and you do more with technology. Recently, in one of my companies, I had three telecallers who were doing sales for one of my businesses. And I was like, okay, they're doing very well. I decided to give them all bonuses, performance bonus, which we do every month. And I thought they would be inspired to work more. Somehow, something happened. They felt that the data uh, that they have is worth a lot more money than their salary. And one day I come in and I see that two of these telecallers left and they took a lot of the customer data with them. And I don't know how they're going to use it. Of course, there were a lot of things we had to do to take care of it. But what we realized was that people lead to such problems. Why not replace those two people with software? And that's where we started exploring WhatsApp automation and chatbot automation, where rather than humans actually dealing with it, we let the WhatsApp automation and chatbot automations take care of the initial conversation before a human picks up. So rather than two telecallers, I can just deal with one. Most of the frequently asked questions are answered by the artificial intelligence tool, and the human elements can be taken care of by one telecaller. And as we introduced that, we started seeing that this is working and it's much more efficient. And I don't have to worry about data getting stolen or lost, or employees not coming, or employees giving them salary bonus, inspire them. I don't have to do all of that. I can simply just turn on my automation and it takes care of things. So that's how you kind of look through your organization, that how can you replace people with software. Now in marketing, if you think about it, there's a lot of automation going on. Back in the days, there was billboards. This guy, he changed everything. Daniel Kahneman, he got a Nobel Prize, and he got the Purple Heart from President Obama for writing this book called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a brilliant book. What it basically says is that we have two systems of the brain, one that is on 95% of the time, the other one is on only 5% of the time. The one that's 95% of the time open, that system actually is the lazy brain, which is what you have open when you're playing with Instagram, right? You're looking through people's feeds. You're not really seeing, but you're seeing. You're subconsciously seeing it. You're not consciously reading everything. You're just wasting time. The 5% is when you're really analytically analyzing and hearing things. That you do when you're studying for an exam. That is very taxing for the brain. It takes a lot of energy for the brain. So the brain does not turn that system on. The system 2 is generally off. It's a rational brain, it's a logical brain, it's a lazy brain that does not want to be on unless you really, really need it. The other side of the brain is faster, and it doesn't use too much energy, and it's just daydreaming, gazing, right? So when you're driving through the highway, you see some billboards, things like that. So when it comes to marketing, automation, Facebook uses this algorithm, uses this understanding to show you an ad once, twice, thrice, and the eighth impression will actually have an impact on your head. So whether it's Facebook or Google or email marketing, we need to understand marketing can be automated. A small startup can look like a big company when you see their brand at least 8 times from different places, right? Recently, this happened to me. A friend of mine asked me about a company and said, "Hey, I've heard about this company. Is it a big company?" I said, "You know what? I've heard that name. Somewhere I've seen that multiple times. Must be a big company." And he said, "Okay, I see." Um, and then I was thinking, where have I seen this company? Where have I seen it? And then when my car was entering my garage, I just realized right opposite there is an office next to my building. And in that office, there is a small signboard. And in the signboard, there is this company's name. So basically, subconsciously, every day when my car is going in the building, I'm seeing that logo and I am thinking, oh, because subconsciously I'm seeing it, I'm not seeing it consciously. So I didn't realize it's opposite to my building. I just realized it's there somewhere. So when somebody told me about the name of the company, I'm like, I've heard it somewhere. Must be big. If I've heard it, must be a big company. So that's how the illusion of marketing automation works.
Esteemed researchers and scholars, greetings from SDM College of Business Management Postgraduate Center for Management Studies and Research.
That will lead to a long term business model where you can automate the process, where you can make your customers into your marketers. They go and brag to other people how awesome is your product, and they bring in your customers through referrals. Referrals are the biggest ways of growing as a business. And today, if you see, according to New York Times, 65% of new customers come from referrals. So if you think about companies like Oyo, uh, even Google, even Gmail, they all grew with the help of this process of referrals by automating the process where you're incentivized to refer your friend. You refer a friend, you get something, your friend gets something, right? Uh, and that leads to more business. Here is an example that we did automation for this company. So Iva is a brand that used to be sold in India a long time ago, 15, 20 years ago. People, our generation know the brand. Your generation probably doesn't. We bought the brand from Sony around 7, 8 years back, made these amazing speakers, and using digital marketing, we started selling these speakers. Within 5 weeks, we went from zero to selling $25,000 worth of speakers a week. Then we gave it to YouTube influencers. They started showcasing how awesome is our speaker, Iowa speaker, compared to JBL or Bose. They started into influencers started with their affiliate links, started sending people to our Amazon store. People started buying our products, and YouTubers started making money. Then we took those videos, put it on Facebook ads, and started sending more people to our platform and selling more products, more speakers. And Amazon, we connected it to our warehouse in Shenzhen and Hong Kong, where anytime speakers would go low, it would automatically request for more speakers. More speakers would be shipped to Amazon in the US, Amazon in other countries, where we started expanding. So wherever there's Amazon, YouTube, and Facebook, we started selling our speakers. And like that, we grew into 15 plus countries without ever going to those countries. Simply using influencer marketing, Facebook ads, and Amazon automation, we were able to sell these speakers all over the world. This is my friend. He has a spice business, almost a 100-year-old spice business. So he was like, why not automate the spice business? We are as traditional as it gets. So he did automated warehousing, where the trucks come in with the spices, robotic hands pick them up, sort them, package them, take care of things. He started e-commerce sales, where it's a 100-year-old brand, so people are willing to go on their site directly and buy from them. And dealers and distributors are buying directly from their site rather than ordering through middlemen. And they outsource their logistics. Thereby, they're not having to deal with all the hustle bustle. They're just doing what they do best, which is manufacture spices, right? So that's called tech-enabled scalability. A traditional business using technology to remove people, make more profit, be more efficient, and be fast. Now, initially, when you do something like that, you spend a lot of money. So you go in the red. You might become loss making for a few years. But eventually, you'll see the long term results that picks up. It makes up for the losses and goes up to profitability. And it's exponential growth, as you can see from the graph. It's not a linear growth, it's exponential growth. So it's completely worth going into losses temporarily to make exponential profits throughout your life. I'm not getting into these. Um, I'll just pause here and see if there are any questions. We have a few minutes left. So if you want to connect with me, you can find me on social media. I'm the only person with the name AVELO Roy. You can call Kolkata Ventures or WhatsApp us if you want one-on-one session with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm here to help you. But let's see if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you right now.
Fabulous session so far, sir. We are really getting a lot of information here. It's almost 7 o'clock, but I can assure you that you are in your slides and presentation with example orientation. If students just take 1% out of it, they're going to be a millionaire. So, students, any questions for sir? Audience online also on YouTube or on Google Meet, please, you can drop in your question. So there is one question from the students. Being an MBA student, how should, because let me summarize it. It's basically these are students who are studying right now. They know that a lot of disruptions and change is taking place. From your point of view and your perspective, how should the students brace up for these kind of journey ahead?
You cannot. Uh, what you can do is learn the art of learning. Learn the art of knowing which tools to use for what. For example, today ChatGPT can write a poetry. It can also write a legal contract. It can also do your homework for you. So it is important that you know how to use such a tool in the best possible way. Like back in the days, calculators were not allowed in exams. Then they started allowing us to use calculators. Today, ChatGPT is like that. How can you do better than ChatGPT? ChatGPT writes something for you. Can you improvise on top of that? That ability to do better than machines, using machines first to do the nitty gritty stuff, and you polish it and you take it to the next level. That ability is very, very important. So, what you can do is learn the art of learning on your own. If there's something new, you should be able to pick up on it using uh, YouTube videos, using tutorials, using blogs, and be ready for it. That's the best thing that you get in college is learn the art of learning. Because once you figure that out, then no matter what new technologies come, you can always use those tools and technologies to go ahead in life.
I think I agree more with you, sir. Definitely learning is the thing. Then later the L becomes invisible and you keep earning, right? So anyone, you can just drop a message on the chat box. Use this opportunity with this particular person. The time will not come again. If no one else has questions, sir, I have a lot of questions. So I'll just start with one of them for time being. Sir, now there are a lot of skills which is coming into play in a corporate world. Now, since we have a lot of students who are MBA students and a lot of budding young researchers and all of that, from your rich global exposure and experience, if you can narrow down and tell what are the few skills which you think the students of today should be having for the future. It's a more of a general topic, sir, but since you have come with such a diverse profile and you have such experience with multicultures and so many companies you worked with, could you summarize some of the essential skills what the students need to have?
The first skill I would say is communication skill. And by communication, I don't mean to say just speaking. I mean to say taking something complex and breaking it down into simple, understandable form. That's number one. It's a huge skill to have. A lot of times we think communication is just speaking. But the second skill I would say is coding. If you know basic coding, basic technology, because it's not about making a software, it's about the logic. It's about how technology works. If you know basic coding, you can actually do better Google searches. You can write better prompts for Chat GPT. You can use technology a lot better because you understand how technology works. The third thing I would say is some form of design tools like Canva. Because if you think about it, whether it's your resume that you format, or the picture that you have on LinkedIn, or your how you portray your project report, all of that has a sense of design element. It gives you the opportunity to stand out from the crowd and get attention. Oh, wow, this is different. How did they do it? Let's take a look at them. When you are good at design, you stand out and people see you and pay attention to you. In a world where everybody is copycatting, this is your way to stand out and be visible. Uh, Ms. Jyoti Kulkarni is saying, is not
Yes.
is
I
not
was just about to
automation.
read it. Shall I just read it out
Please, please,
so
please,
the audience
please
also
read.
can hear it out, sir?
Yes, please.
I'll just go ahead, sir. She's quoting, is not automation going to affect the HR policies of a company and also contribute to unemployment, sir? So I'm not really sure whether she meant automation or not automating. So Jyoti ma'am, could you just confirm and just rephrase your question? Did you mean that if we go automation, will that create a lot of unemployment problems, or by not automating there will be some issues for the company in terms of unemployment? Yes, not automating. Okay, automating, I think. By automating, yes. Thank you, Jyoti ma'am, for your validation, sir. I hope you've comprehend the question. I'll rephrase it. By automation, while going automation, it may affect the HR policies of company and also contribute to unemployment. What is your view on this, sir?
That's what people thought about computers also, that computers going to lead to unemployment. But look at us. We have become the tech giant because of computers. We have been able to create so much employment for our people, so much wealth for our people because of computers. Same way with automation, we will be able to, because automation doesn't happen on its own, it happens because of tools. And somebody has to run these tools. So skilled people will be running the tools, and there'll be more businesses, more employment, more opportunities to make money with less effort. Back in the days, effort was based on physical labor. Then it became mental labor. Now, with the help of tools, right, we have been able to reduce that where people can work 6 7 hours a day and get a hefty salary for having the ability to use a tool that is super powerful. So it's not going to be a job killer, it's going to be a job creator. As long as we are able to upgrade ourselves and keep up with the latest technologies, at least know what they are, and slowly learn how to use them.
Sir, thank you so much once again for giving out wonderful insights into the question. And thank you, Jyoti Kulkarni. Thank you so much. I believe, sir, we have a couple of minutes just to close up. So would you want to just have a quick closure before we I'm sorry, sir. Let me rephrase it. There was some technical glitch. I was trying to tell you that we may have 4 to 5 minutes to close, sir. So, would you like to thanks?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. So you have 4 to 5 minutes. You want me to give a closing statement?
Sir, I'll just rephrase it. I think there was some technical glitch. I was just telling we have 4 to 5 minutes for concluding, sir. So, would you like to conclude before we officially do the vote of thanks?
I have spoken whatever I had to speak. I have nothing else to say.
All
You
right,
can
sir.
go
I'm so
into vote
sorry.
of
We
thanks.
couldn't hear the last part. There was a technical glitch. So, sir, thank you very, very much. It was really a joyful session here again. Whenever Mr. Avelo Roy is there, there's always joy to follow. It was a great thing to hear so many things from you, sir. I am sure the hall here is buzzing already, despite it being so late in the evening. And again, once again, thank you for sparing your wonderful time, because I see your LinkedIn profile, and I request students also to follow, sir. You have programs almost on every day. You're having talks in various parts of the globe, sir. You're truly an inspiration to all of us and the youth. So continue doing the great things, sir. So once again, from Team SDM MBA family, on behalf of the organizers of International E-Conference and from the participant delegates and one and all, thank you very, very much, sir, for your fabulous session. I hope that we can be in touch, and SDM students in the future also can benefit out of it. So there's a lot of
Thank you
claps
so much.
going on, sir. I hope you can hear it.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you in person very soon.
Definitely, sir. It would be our honor. And SDM has always opened doors for you, sir, and it will be a privilege. Please do get in touch, sir, whenever you are in town. We will make sure that our students get enriched again, and we also can get enriched. So once again, thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank our director, Dr. Seema Shanam, for helping us organize this particular program. Also, to all my faculties and colleagues, to all our dynamic SDM coordinators, students, staff, everyone, to all our resource persons who have been here, our guests who have come for the day and throughout the day, and all our partners, vendor partners, people, delegates, paper presenters, and all of them who have joined from various parts of the world. Thank you so much for staying back. Just an update to the participants. Tomorrow again, 9:15 to 11 o'clock, we have research paper presentations. For anyone who's pending or who has not got it done, get in touch with me. We will organize and help you out. And 11 to 12, we will be having our valedictory ceremony where we'll be reading out all the winners of all the Sensex contest and all of the other things. The links are already pasted in the Google Classroom. So see you all tomorrow. 9:15 to 11 is paper presentation. 11 is the valedictory, including YouTube. So once again, thank you everyone. And Avelo Roy, sir, we wish you the best. I keep helping the society up, sir. Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you so much. All the best.